Hello everyone, this is Lori here with Butterfly Woman Creations. It's Tutorial Tuesday. We usually try to get a tutorial done for you every Tuesday or so. And today what I'm going to do is show you how to work on the continuous loop loom. Now just to make it easier for you to see, I've just cut a small piece of cardboard and placed it here so that we can make the clarity a little bit better. You can also tell that we're going to be working with the large pony beads, which hopefully will be easier for you to see. So to get started, I have my needle, my yarn, and what I'm going to do is the way I do my bead work, and you can always do yours the way that you've been taught, but I like to use a helper bead. So I'm going to take this one helper bead and string this on here. And basically what I want to do is take my needle and run it back the same way that I came through initially, just to make a loop around this bead, because eventually this will be taken off and we will weave the tail, which is this part right here, back in through the loom work, because I've always been taught never to tie knots in your loom, in your bead work. Okay, so we already have our warp threads on here. These are the ones that you're going to string around the loom. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up 8 beads. This seems really weird to be working with these large ones here. I'm going to get the smudge shell out of here real quick. So we're going to continue to do our 8 beads onto our thread here, and those go all the way down to the helper bead. And again, that helper bead's just going to keep everything from sliding off the other end. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take our needle and we're going to pass it through here, like so. Now when you're working with your loom work, you need to put on one more string than your bead is, than your piece is. So say for example, if you have a pattern that's 25 beads wide, then you need to go ahead and add that 26th string. So for this, what we're going to do here is just put those through, and then we're going to take our needle and we're going to work back from left to right, passing over the top of the red threads. So I know for most of you, you've never worked with a loom like this before, because there's always a keeper to keep those threads in place. But as you can see, it really isn't that hard. Now when you get down here to the end, you're just going to kind of ignore that helper bead and pass that over the top. And then we're going to take and pull our yarn through like so. And we have created that first row of beadwork. And so we're going to pick up our 8 beads again. Pull those around, and then we're going to pass under our warp threads, pick those beads up, and get our yellow string to cooperate here, and we're just going to set those in place like so. And again, I always start to set the beadwork in place from the left side to the right. And so when you're working with your loom, you're going to actually be able to control your tension of your warp threads a little bit better. Unfortunately, this yarn stretches, and so you really can't get it as taut as you would be able to your regular thread. So, and again, that needle passes over the top of the red threads, because that's what gives you your weaving technique. And then we're going to pull this through, and that's your second row. And then of course you would slide those down so that they would sit on top of the next ones. Now the great thing about this loom here is you can actually, if you'd like to, you can actually bring this up to even a more comfortable height. And you can see how that yellow thread passes over the top of the red threads. That's actually what creates the weaving method here. So again, we're going to pick up 8 more, and I just have these laid out already just to kind of take some time so that our video doesn't go too long here. Pull those behind your warp threads, pick them up, And as you can see, the more rows that you add, the strings are actually going to seat themselves and space themselves, which is wonderful. And again, this is great because you can actually even use this if you wanted to for like a wampum belt or anything like that, because there actually isn't any predetermined space on those warp threads. And again, when you're doing your work, you'll be able to control the stiffness of this with your tension bar on the back. So 3 rows on here. Whoops, let me get back here. We're going to put that 4th row on. Again, we pass under the warp threads. And then just put those in place. And they will sit right where they're supposed to. Always keep your finger behind your beadwork so that way you can keep those beads pushed up in between those warp threads. And that way you'll have a really nice flat piece of beadwork when you come through. Now, if you're going through and you find that you accidentally didn't pass on top of a warp thread and underneath instead, your bead's going to drop just a little bit, but what you can do is you can go back in and weave through with your needle. So we're going to pick up these 8 beads again. And again, we pass under those warp threads. And set those beads in place. And then to lock them in, we're going to pass over the top of the warp threads. Get that last one in there. Hang on to those when we pull them through. And I'm going to do one more row here, and then we're going to call it quits on this because unfortunately we're limited by the amount of video length that we can do for Facebook. I'm actually thinking about going to a different format with these tutorials and maybe just post them on YouTube and then posting the links on the Facebook page. But here we're going to put our last one on. Again, we go under that warp thread. And if you'll notice over here on the sides, again, I'm not pulling these real tight. When you do this with regular Nymo thread, which is what I recommend that you use, then you will not be able to see those as prominently. Plus, we are using these contrasting colors to make it easier to see. Let's see how that bead's trying to go, trying to drop under a little bit. We want to make sure again that we push those beads up through those warp threads. And so there you have it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows on. As your beadwork starts to work up, all you have to do is push this down, and we'll take this cardboard out so you can kind of get the whole gist of it, and you can actually keep working the entire length of your thread, which is what's nice with this because you can actually do a big piece of loom work in a smaller space. So I hope this helps some of you. I know that some of you are new to beading, some of you are pros, some of you are just learning like myself. There's always different ways to do beadwork, and just go with what you're taught. If you have a different method and it works for you, that's wonderful. This is just a method that I learned, and it seems to do pretty good for me. So thank you all for watching. Please drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought of the video. If you know someone who would be interested in one of my looms, please go ahead and recommend that because I think that you'll enjoy them very much. And until next time, happy beading.